Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another one of those. It's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. I don't understand it myself. But it is. Just waiting on Susan here. But it is another installment of the tier list. Everybody loves a tier list. I printed out some things. Today, we are going to do transmitters. Transmitters. You'll notice NI down there, not included. There are going to be radios that are not included, and there's a reason. There's a justifiable reason for that. There's a definite thought process that goes into that, because whenever we're talking about something on here, I just got a comment a couple days ago questioning why I test Proline G8 tires in a crawling environment, knowing that in a crawling environment they get beat fairly handily by most every other compound on the market. If you put G8 directly up against J-Concepts Green, if you put it up against OT6 Red, Vanquish Red, Louis Super Soft, on and on and on, they're not going to do as well. I use Proline G8 Trepadors on my FJ40, my big trail rig that I drive on trails and drive for miles and miles and miles, and I would run no other tire under any circumstance. So while I acknowledge that G8 is not specifically crawling oriented, as the results of the testing have indicated, that's not what Proline says. Proline says this is a compound specifically designed for crawling. So if you're going to continue to say that it's specifically designed for crawling, I am going to test them in a specifically crawling environment. How is that relevant? This is a transmitter tier list. This transmitter tier list is geared towards rock crawling. It is not what is the best transmitter in the world. Because I didn't even print one out. Because everybody has a different opinion. And my different opinion is this. Peak among the not included, right there. The Sanwa M8 is, in my estimation, the greatest radio ever made. It did everything. It goes back, geez, help me out, fellas, 20 years ago, 25 years ago? It was actually the Airtronics / Sanwa M8. They do not exist anymore. They came from the era of 75 megahertz crystals. Mine had a Novak switch module in it. It was, when I got back into RC some couple of years ago, I sold that Sanwa M8 with the Novak switch module in it for about $100 more than I had originally paid for the Novak and the M8 put together. That should have been an indication to me that I probably should have kept it. So also in NI, which is not included, are radios the likes of the Futaba 10PX. Is the Futaba 10PX a bad radio? In no judgment. No way. The Sanwa M17. You could print out another one that says the Sanwa MT12. Are they bad radios? No. These are phenomenal radios. Do you need a 10PX? Do you need an $800 radio to control your rock crawler? Absolutely not. If you want to buy one, if you're buying a radio for 10PX money, M17 money, oh, you're getting a radio. You're getting a real radio. You don't need it. You will use almost none of the functionality of it. I would never, under any circumstance, consider a 10PX or an M17 for use for controlling a crawler. If that's what you want to use, if you love that ergonomic so much, I would put the M8, if we were including this on a crawler transmitter tier list, the Sanwa M8 would be in the ascended tier above S tier. I can still feel the ergonomics of that radio these years later, the way it sat in your hand. Everything about it. It was absolutely premier. And what's crazy is, back in those days, it cost about $250. And A 10PX non-limited edition is like 800, and I want to say a Sanwa M17 is around the same, between 600 and 800, depending on what trim it's in. And as far as I am concerned, from the position that I operate, that is absolutely bonkers. So we will throw on one that you can probably still find them. The very watered down version. I got one right under the bench. The very watered down version. Like Airtronics, still says Airtronics, Sanwa was kind of on the way out. This was basically all those years ago. All those many years ago. This was the economy Airtronics radio. These are excellent. The wheel tension is, the trigger is adjustable, the wheel is adjustable. That trigger feel, it's not quite MT4 good. A little sneak peek there. These were great. 3-channel, still works great for setting up rigs now, because you can, if you're setting up something with a 2-speed, and you can find one of these used for, $100, it's definitely an option. They don't play nicely with a lot of new radios. I mean, with new speed controls. Fine with Fusions. These don't like Outrunners at all. They are basically, they go back too far in time. This is vintage by today's standards. The receiver that's under this piece of tape, the clones of these receivers go for about $80. So I'm never going to actively recommend, I'm not going to say, go out and find one of these for like new money. No. Like, they've been surpassed. It is a dedicated 3-channel radio, and the way that the aux lever works, it's great for a 2-speed and nothing else. It feels great in the hand. You can put a LiPo in the bottom of it. It passes a lot of what I consider to be the tests of radios, but it is very nearly a relic of a bygone era. I will make one that is, how would I classify this? It's a little bit of a relic of a bygone era. Sanwa MT4. The Sanwa MT4 gets itself a spot. And as I said, this is me. The Sanwa MT4, right up here in the S tier, for basically one reason. And that reason is this. All of it. Everything about it. That. Silk. This. All adjustable. Adjustable. That's rubber. Feels great. Look where that hook is. If you can use a lanyard in operation, which I can't, no external antenna. Antenna's just like a little handled guy. It has the scroll wheel, and the scroll wheel works. It has all the things. It has full telemetry. It has so many controls, you won't be able to use them all. It is, look at the placement of that button. Feel with me. Feel what it likes to press that button. Are you running something 4-wheel steer? That's a detent. Boom, boom, middle, boom, boom. When it's in operation, the beep means it's centered. You don't even have to look down. It is the 4-wheel steer option. If you can find one, if you can get your hands on one and the price is not too high, this has the potential to ruin other radios for you. And also thinking back, the MT4 was about $200 when it came out. So significantly cheaper than premier radios now. So getting back into the hobby after some time off, after the MX3X era, after the MT4 era, the M8 would be over here in the ye olden times. One of the very first radios I bought was a Sanwa MX6. And the Sanwa MX6 is inarguably hard C tier. This is a radio that does radio things. It does nothing badly. It does not sit and overdrain its batteries. It does nothing remarkably. That set of AC Delco Super Alkalines, I make no exaggeration when I say those batteries have probably been in there for 3 years. It doesn't overdraw, it doesn't overdrain, it feels good in the hand. The trigger tension is too high. The wheel tension is too high. This is the channel 3. It's almost inaccessible and it's hard to move. The buttons work. It's easy to program. It just has a bind button. You press bind on the receiver, you press bind on this, it binds. Last time I looked it up, one of those on the internet is like $130. Absolutely not. But functionally, it's absolutely fine. And ergonomically, I do have the banana hands. So take the banana hands into all accounts. Look at that. You could hold, like, genuinely, I want to establish, Sanwa has some of the very best ergonomics across the line. And we're basically looking at 3 eras of controllers. I do wish I still had an M8 to put back there, but, you know, we make decisions at times. So Sanwa covers the board. Absolutely covers the board. I don't think we're going to stick to one brand all the way across. Because, as with every tier list, we operate off of what we've used. We operate off of what we've used. And based on what we've used, we have our first entrant in the A tier. And again, someone might argue, the RadioMaster MT12. I do not have every radio. It's on the list. I don't have every radio. The RadioMaster MT12. The ergonomics of this, that trigger is very nearly as good as a Sanwa trigger. The feels of the switches, you got the little knobs. It's got little add-on modules which aren't installed. It can run on multiple power sources. The lanyard is, you know, fake leather. This thing feels fantastic. It's fully reversible, can be set up left hand, right hand. It can do all of the things. Comes in a sweet as case. Why is this radio in the A tier and not in the S tier? Because it uses Edge TX, which is, to my understanding, drone software. And if you want to set an end point on this radio, you need to be ready to learn. You'd better be ready to learn another language to use this radio. That radio, including virtual channels, whatever those are, this is a 36 channel radio. I have this thing programmed to all of my Go Fast vehicles. All of them. So there's like 9 or 10. Oh, did I mention that there's like 80 or 90 different receivers that you can bind to this radio? Did I also mention that this radio is like $130, sometimes $140? It is wildly economical for what you get. The ergonomics are fantastic. The programming is utterly inscrutable. And I do not care. I don't care how many YouTube videos there are telling you about the intricacies of Edge TX software. That's not the reason I buy a radio. I don't buy a radio to sit down and write a doctoral thesis in order to operate it. So using this thing as a 2-channel to control Go Fast rigs, fantastic. And it comes with this sweet case. So what I do is if I'm going to go off somewhere, I'm going to drive bashers, I throw a handful of them in the car, and this goes in there with them. I wonder if the accessory pieces are in the other pocket. Yes, they are. It has a little add-on stick module. Guys who are into it, guys with drone backgrounds, will likely put this into hard S tier. But I don't have the time nor energy in my life to devote to learning how to program that. So for me, it's never going to get out of A tier. The ergonomics are amazing. The ergonomics are very nearly as good as this. But kind of brings itself down. Who are we going to go with? Okay. Our first little entrant as what I would call a weird radio. The Eldark CT01. Anybody who tries to tell you that the programming screen on an Eldark isn't the size of a postage stamp, it absolutely is. We'll get the color changing lights so you know what mode you're in, if you can remember. If you can remember what the trim colors are. It's got a scroll wheel. The scroll wheel works. It is just barely the size to fit in my hand. If you have a normal size hand, you'll be all right. Like some of the buttons, they're kind of hard for me to reach. It is absolutely festooned with LEDs. You're not going to lose this thing in the dark. And one of its party tricks, it runs on a single 18650. We've seen a couple other radios that operate off of a single 18650. Also worthy of mention, you can find this one on Amazon as well as on AMain. Like there's a legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate brand that sells these for about $60. Just be aware, if you're looking at that tiny little radio, you can get them on Amazon all day for about $40. And I would say that they used to be cheaper on AliExpress, but now everything is about the same price. I would put this guy solid B tier. You can't set endpoints in real time. You know how you set an endpoint, you turn your wheel to one side, and then you adjust the endpoint and watch it come over? It can't do that. You have to set the endpoint and then test to see. So it takes a while, but how often do we set endpoints? It's a little bit difficult to navigate the menus while in operation because it has to have the smallest screen of anything that comes with a screen. And unlike other screens, the screen does provide a lot of information. And it runs on a single 18650. And that single 18650 will run, it has a license plate on it for some reason. That 18650 will run forever. Probably because it has a screen the size of a postage stamp. So it is solid, it's a solid B. And because you can get it for $40, and it comes with a, it's either, is it a 10? It's either an 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's either 8 or 10 channels. I would not use it for that many. Like, you can do dig or a 2-speed, mostly. But some of the buttons are not eminent, like this. These are buttons, B and C. Maybe for turning lights on and off. It is one of the leaders of the bargain radios. While we're in bargain radios, let's go to the same bargain radios. We're just going to overpopulate B. The Mias ME8B. There's also the ME10B. There's also the Mias ME8A and the Hot RC CT8A. They are perfectly acceptable, slightly above average radios. Along with the Mias is the Hot RC. They're the same radios in different plastics. I had genuinely thought about dropping the, and like I said, there's the ME8B and the CT8B. There's also the ME10B and the CT10B. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. The only one we have in Canyon service is the Hot RC CT8A. It has its own little parlor trick. Depending on what seller you go with, you can get one that comes with an 850 milliamp. And what is this secret up inside the handle? There's the hole for your 18650. Dual power source and including a LiPo is how every radio on the market should be. Period. Ergonomics, fine. The trigger tension is lower than that on the MX6. The trigger and the wheel tension is lower. It has a foot, so you can set it down. Why I had thought about putting the CT8B and the ME8B down lower is they don't have a handle, so you can't set them down. And not only that, the shape of them is such that there's no real way to set them down. This one also has that. That's a party trick. Good point on the lanyard. If you're running a 3-speed, that's pretty good. You can run dig right there. It's got a display that does show a lot of information, but it's useful. We got transmitter voltage, we got receiver voltage. You can see the throw on the channels. It's all adjustable. The menus are reasonably easy to navigate. Some of it gets a little bit post back. System and joystick. My favorite of all, linearity. Some of it gets a little confusing, but typically, and there is a trigger tension adjustment, you can typically find that radio for about $45. Would I buy it all the time? No. Is it a bad radio? No. I would really put it, these are fairly close ergonomically. Features wise, there's more here. Some of the hot racing Mias have little car mini games in them. If that's a motivator to buy a radio, I want to say the ME8B and the CT8B have there's like a little car dodgem game in them. And against your own better judgment, you will find yourself playing that game too much. The Traxxas TQI, yes, it's a stock radio, but yes, they also sell them. It is Traxxas doing what Traxxas do and resting on their laurels. On the one hand, it does it. The radio that comes with things like Defenders, that comes with any of the scale and trail Traxxas models, has that little nifty 3-position switch where you can run half unlocked, full locked, or full unlocked. That's pretty great. They want you to buy that little ID module to pair it to your phone. Never do that. Just don't keep your TQI radio. Most any aftermarket radio is going to be better. It just is. Unlike now, I think they're pretty much all gone. They might be out there in some small numbers. The Team Associated XP130 is a delightful throwback radio. I don't believe it has any capacity to run a LiPo battery. It has no screen of any kind. It has open pots on the top. So if you use it in the rain, water will get into it and make it die. But it harkens back to, it's got endpoint adjustments. It's got all of the adjustments on little pots on the top. They used to give us an RTR would come with a radio, and that radio was actually useful. It was useful and it was usable. The old TQIs were absolutely functional. They did nothing special. You're not going to get up too high if I can't set endpoints and all of that stuff because they want us to burn up the stock electronics and have to buy new electronics and a new radio. I don't want to fall into that. The TQI and the TQ and the topper TQ, even though I like that little 3-position switch and the fact that it has built-in cruise control that your brain automatically forgets how to operate, it's not getting out of D. And the thing is, it's going to have company down there in D. The Vanquish VT1 for a stock radio, if this was a stock transmitter tier list, the Vanquish VT1 would be one of the highest scoring stock radios because it is ergonomically sound. It can mostly stand up on its own foot. It's small. No, not just that. It's not just small. It has a party trick. Stick them in your pockets. It is limited to AA batteries. They live down there in the little handle. It's just another Dumbo. A lot of radios are Dumbos. There's your little contacts of the battery. It has 4 channels. There's channel 4. Barely usable. It's a 3-position and it's barely functional due to its placement and difficulty in actuating it. And then channel 3 is this button right here. That's not super useful. That's not super useful. Ergonomics, it's not winning any awards. Wheel tension and trigger tension feel almost exactly like an MX6. It is extremely average, but it does have adjustable endpoints. It also has a menu function where if you are programming your endpoint, you're going boop, boop, and then you look over at the rig, and then you look back. I just looked over there, and then I look back over here. When you look back over here, you'll be back at the battery voltage display screen, because it will time you out in it feels like 2 seconds. It's probably about 5 seconds, but it will time you out in about 2 seconds. It is certifiably bona fide average. Now, putting you in the same category as an X2130 is, as far as I'm concerned, good company. You know what? Hot RC makes a radio called the DS4A. It's a single-handed transmitter. It has a little stick like this to steer and a trigger in the front. It looks like a controller for an F-16, right? It has a button that you can press that does cruise control. I don't know where to put this. I think it's for boats. I think it's for boats. I ran one on a trail rig for a good while. It is quite bare bones. It does have settable endpoints. You kind of got to, it's settable in 10 steps. So not aggressively settable endpoints. It is a neat radio though, because it's about this big. As I said, it looks like a fighter stick. You head on out, you put your hands in your hoodie with that controller in there, and then a vehicle's just driving around and people are all, how is that doing that? It's a novelty radio. So I don't know. We'll put it over here like this. It's fun. It doesn't really have all of the functions that I would want for a crawling radio. For a trailing radio, it's super fun. And if you spend hours and hours and hours out in the forest not doing super technical stuff, you will find that it's a little bit of rub your head, pat your stomach. This is the motion to steer, and this is the motion for throttle. So now you're trying to actuate slowly up a rock, and your brain goes, and you're like, steer, throttle, steer. Maybe that's just me. Maybe the lizard brain takes over a little bit. We have 2 radios that I am going to put in A tier, but I'm going to draw a little asterisk on them. Just drew a terrible asterisk. I got one bad one and got one good one. I'm going to put these in A tier because of their capacities and their performance. That is, whatever name comes before it, the Noble NB4 Plus, and this one is the RadioLink. This is the RadioLink RC8X. I do not have a version of the NB4 for you. I do have a version of the RC8 for you if I can get it off of, let go, if I can get it off of its dumb hook. The RC8X is imperfect. You probably don't need it. I have one of these, and I have one of these because I have a vehicle that has 2 speed controls and 2 motors in it. The RC8X has a mode for specifically that. Look at the size of the screen. I had unplugged the battery for whatever reason. You see that quick boot up? See how fast that booted up? Do you see a screen that is displaying altogether too much information? It does that. You are going to try to fit the biggest lithium polymer battery you can in there. There's dual ESC mode on my Tsunami. I have this set up to my underdrive, overdrive. Tells you what all the things do. It's too much. The NB4 is the same way. It's too much. This thing drinks battery. If you're setting it up to a vehicle that you're going to drive for extended periods of time, this thing will eat your battery. You basically have to turn the sounds off. Otherwise, every time you press a button like this or press a button, it goes so-and-so mode on, so-and-so mode off. It just talks constantly and forever. In 99, and I can say this, in 99% of situations, you don't need this. You don't. If you're planning on building a rig that has 2 motors and you want to not spend this kind of time getting it to work, yeah, I mean, pick one up. I've seen them on sale for $250. Still too much. Still too much for a crawler radio as far as I'm concerned. I know it's only available as RTR, I'm pretty sure. I think you can buy them. So Tactic has 2. They've got the TTX 300, which kind of looks kind of like this-ish. The TTX 200 is that weird, it looks like a price gun, looks like a price scanner. It has no handle on it. It has no real way to set it down. It's very much the TQI. It steers. It steers. It makes go and stop. It does nothing else. It is kind of indicative of, there was a time, that time still exists to a degree, where an OE RTR radio was a radio to get the job done. It doesn't give you bells nor whistles. Works pretty good. I have one that's not going up on the list. It comes with the FCX10. I want to say it's Fly Sky in origin. It's got an 11 in its name. I think it's like the FS11. Not to be confused with the other FS11 that Fly Sky has. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Would I actively buy one? No. Which is why I didn't put it on the list. I also don't have an example of it because they're pretty quickly replaced. I don't like radios that slave you. Now, in the olden times, in times of yore, the Fly Sky GT3B was pretty great. I know people love it because of its programmability and all of that stuff. It does things. It has been left behind, kind of in the same vein that the MX6 has been left behind. It doesn't do enough. Some people still love them, but we have inexpensive radios now that do all of that and more, with better battery life, with better range, with no glitching. Like most of the radios that are going to be up here at the top are never going to glitch on you. They're going to be dependable. They're going to accept multiple power sources or just run on a single 18650, which I wish there were far more radios that ran on just a single 18650. I'm not even going to bother to dig. I have some around here. The Spectrum DX5C is F tier. Because the Spectrum DS5C, does anybody else have one? Has a scroll wheel, kind of like this. And it's right about in this location right here. And it is what I would call pseudo-functional. You will find yourself, have you ever had a printer that's just like, load paper tray? And you're like, the paper tray's got paper in it. And you jiggle the tray, and then you go print. And then it goes, and then it goes, deep, load paper tray. And I'm like, the paper tray has paper in it. Programming any function on the Spectrum DX5C is load paper tray. You push the button and you go to scroll it and you're like, and you push it and nope, you're one menu up. Or you push it and, oh no, you're back at the beginning. And you're like, how can you get a scroll wheel so wrong? Scroll wheel works amazing. Scroll wheel works just fine. Scroll wheel works just fine. They managed to get it wrong. They managed to get it wrong. And then if we're talking about the DX6, the rugged, I'm sorry, I have never personally used one, so we're going to put it down here in not included. But I hear basically the same reports. People say all of the things about the DX, and apparently the rugged has a touch screen, and if the touch screen gets wet, it starts selecting its own menus. But that's just things that I've been told. I don't have any personal experience with the rugged because I bought a DX5C, and it's terrible. Now, here's what's crazy, and here's where people will throw their hands in the sky. The DX3 and by extension, the SLT3, which I get mixed up in my head all the time. I don't know specifically what the differences are. They are extreme heavy load into RTR radio. Terrible trigger feel. Terrible wheel feel. Does nothing. What it does just passably enough to make the thing function. And they pair them with receivers that if you had to buy a receiver for it, the receivers are like $50 or $60. And we're talking about radios available on the market that you can buy the whole radio with a receiver for less than the cost of a receiver that goes to one of these. Oh, also the DX5C comes with the 6100 AT receiver. The worst receiver in the entire world! How can a receiver be bad, you ask? Ask anyone who has ever owned a Spectrum radio, hey, how do you turn off the gyro? And then watch a little bit of steam shoot out of their ears. The Sky G7P. We're gonna run down a list of Fly Skies now. The Sky G7P is hell tier. The G7P came out after the GT5. The GT5 straddles the line between C tier and D tier. And I know. Oh, there's so many people. Oh, I love my GT5. I own like 8 GT5s. It's because, to put it, I do not mean to be rude, but to put it as frankly as possible, it is because you do not know better. The Sky GT5 is, it is a vacuum. It is a vacuum to which in all good things are drawn. The Sky GT5, try as you may and try as you might, you can't put a LiPo in it because as it sits on a shelf, it will draw that battery to dead in a matter of days and kill that battery. If you put AA batteries in it, it will draw those batteries to dead and kill those batteries in a couple of days. And why do I know this? Because at one point I had 8 Sky GT5s. I didn't know. Functionally, fine. I know that there are people, so imagine this is the GT5. It has 2 little knobs right here. And people will set up 4-wheel steer on it so they can 4-wheel steer like this, or they can reach over and 4-wheel steer like that. I don't like it. Ergonomics is every bit as big of a factor in a radio as anything else. How the trigger feels and how the steering wheel feels and how that radio feels in your hand is as important as the functionality, because this is your single point of contact to the radio. And if that trigger's feel is too heavy and you have to pull that trigger all day long, you will develop a hate-hate relationship with that radio. It doesn't feel good about you. You don't feel good about it. The G7P has 2 knobs at the top, just like the GT5 does. But one of them is a button. It looks exactly like the one next to it. One is a knob, one is a button. It has a display bigger than any radio here except for this one. And that display shows you absolutely nothing of any value. Nothing. Most of the screen is devoted to a timer. If you are running that radio in any conventional crawling application, there is no data displayed on the screen of a G7P that is useful to you in any way. If they replaced that timer with a damn clock, it would actually be useful because you wouldn't have to turn your wrist to see your watch or take your phone out of your pocket. It is absolutely useless. The G7P is the worst aftermarket radio you can spend money on. And in the sub-hell tier, oh look at Ant. In the sub-hell tier, the Sky G4P, which is the OE radio choice for so many. I think all of the elements are currently coming with G4Ps. That is the worst radio I have ever held in my hands. I have held in my hands nameless, random radios of all manufacture, super inexpensive radios I don't bother to list. Radios like what is it? I don't know. You can get radios like this for $20, especially for cars and boats. All of it's plastic. Functionally and ergonomically, it is still better than a G4P. The G4P is you might as well just scoop up a handful of garbage and squeeze it in your fist. I hate that radio with the intensity of a dying star. If you told me that all other radios had been outlawed by the collective and we can only use G4Ps, I'm taking up fishing. There's only 2 radios left on this tag. One of them, I know exactly where it goes, and you all know exactly where it goes. We save the near best for last. Those, of course, being on the same tag together, the RadioLink RC6 and the RadioLink RC4. Is it perfect? No. Is it S tier? Absolutely 100%. With some small changes, the RC4, RC6, the only difference between the two, if you're not aware, this is an RC4. It comes in black plastic. It has these 2 little empty holes right here. It has wonderful steering tension, excellent trigger tension. It has a button right here, easily accessible. It has a button right here, easily accessible. It has a big battery tray in the bottom. You can put a 3800 pack in. How long does that 3800 pack last, you ask? Usually around 6 months. It has an external antenna. That is why this radio is not ascended tier. It has an external antenna which you will drop your radio several times and then you will break that antenna off. Does it still work with the antenna broken off? I've used this radio so much, I draw your attention to the shininess of the handle. So shiny. So shiny. It will fit a variety of hands. It doesn't have any corners that hit this. Look at that little bevel right there. Even if you've got mega thumbs, absolutely fits great. I can program one of these radios from fresh out the box to everything I need set, including cruise control. You can do winch mixing if you have one of these, because the difference is on an RC6. These little 3-position guys, that's the only difference. You can turn an RC4 into an RC6 for about $15. You can buy this whole module, unplug that from the board, plug the other one in, you got an RC6 now. Or you can just buy an RC6 from the beginning. Fits the same size battery, all the buttons are in the same place. It comes with a little thing called a VR knob. VR knob looks like this. I have full drawers of them. This little guy goes right in there. You get a guy that does some 3D printing, prints you out some little knobs, so you can, I use this for cruise control. When you're on the fly, you can set your cruise control, boom, bosh, bing, you're gone. You can also use this for 4-wheel steer. It's not a perfect solution. It's not nearly as good as this. But on any given day, this radio is about $60 and this radio is about $80. They go on sale all the time. I own, well, let me put it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way. You might ask, I have 2 of these. I have 1 of these. I have 1 of these. I have 3 of these from back in the old days. 1 of these in the fleet. 2 of these in the fleet. 1 of these. 1 of these. How many of these do you have? Well, the RC6 comes with a VR knob that has this like black chrome. And the RC4 comes with this silver one. How many RadioLinks are in service in the fleet? Well, guess how many gumballs are in the jar? When you're talking about a radio, if I know I'm not going to need more than 5 channels, this is a 5-channel radio. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't remember. 5. Can't remember where 5 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. If I know I'm not going to need more than 5 channels, if I know I don't have things like locking differentials or adjustable overdrive, I just buy this one. If I'm setting up something like a Phoenix, this is the radio. You can put your dig here, have your cruise control here, activate it, set your speed control, or use this for winch controls. You can set these for overdrive, so you can have both in overdrive and dig. They do all of the things. Do they have the ultra low latency of the non-included radios like this on here. No. No. Like, this is not a top-of-the-line racing radio. Here's where you can attach your phone or camera. This radio is, for the purposes of rock crawling, nearly perfect. If they made a version of this with a self-centering and or spring-loaded or tension adjustable knob back here, because this just attaches to a pot, a control pot on the circuit board. If they made a wheel more like this, if they made a four-wheel steer version, if they made the RC4 WS for four-wheel steer instead of the RC4 GS ascended tier, and put the antenna on the inside. There's only one radio that's on here, and I've been holding off on it because it is the Dumbo DDF 350. I know that the Dumbo DDF 350 has functions that will put it, for many people, in certain environments, will put it above the RC6. For me, it is right here because I found the ergonomics of the Dumbo DDF 350 to be hateful. The memory, the functions, the programming of it, the functionality of it was fine. There was nothing about it that sang a song to me. Its battery compartment is unnecessarily small. See, here's one of my other battery options, pair of 18650s. If you only own, say you only own one radio in your life, well, explain to me how does that work? Like, how did you get to that place in life? I'm genuinely interested. Dude, it is thundering like crazy outside, which is wild because it's 90 degrees out there. Oy. I couldn't live life with one radio. I live by a principle of one rig, one radio, and that will obviously color the way that I feel about transmitters. The Dumbo DDF 350 doesn't really offer me anything that I need. I run a solitary RC8X because for an application, I need it. I bought an MX6 because I didn't know any better at the time. I wish I owned more of these. The L-Dark is sort of a long-term test, just like the Hot RC. Can we get away? You can get these sometimes $50-ish. Receivers are extraordinarily inexpensive, and you can get them in 7-channel, 6-channel, 5-channel, 4-channel. You can get a 4-channel one that is like that big, like the size of something that would go in a micro. They do 10 models of individual IDC memory. They're fully programmable. They are extremely easy to use. They boot up. That's how long they take to boot up. As said, they do cruise control. They do full throttle curves. They do all of the things for $60 or $80. And you're at $60 radio. Ooh, when typically I'm spending more than that on a steering servo, I don't worry about buying one. I don't worry about Texas Ranger style one rig, one radio. $80 is about the top end threshold for me as what I want to spend on a radio on a daily basis, unless there's something that specifically requires it. If I was going to if my chemistry in my brain shifted and I said, I feel like racing again, they would just go on this. But if I was go anywhere, rock crawling, trailing, anything in a tiny toy car that goes slow, I don't really need much more than these. The MT4 is up there because ergonomically this radio destroys everything on the bench. It is a harsh reminder of the way things were. I just want somebody to bring this back to life. Bring me back to life. Give me an MT5. Give me one more channel, because I know we got a button back here, but we'll put a button right here on the handle. Leave everything else exactly as it is, and just make this again. Just make transmitters great again. Make it like that. Until then, the absolute pinnacle here in the canyon, as evidenced by the fact that if I turn around on the bench, how many more are under here? Like literally, I don't have time to gather them all. There are so many. And I wouldn't tell you to buy it if I wouldn't buy it myself. I wouldn't recommend it unless I would recommend it to myself. RadioLink has gotten as close to a radio that checks all the boxes as anyone with the RC4, RC6. I had to go open the door because honestly, I hope before it's done, I hope we get another one. It is thundering like crazy. We don't get a lot of thunder here. So, oh, here come that rain. So there you have it for whatever it's worth. I mean, if we're including other radios from times of yore, I mean, radios like the XL2P, were CS2P, even going back to the old-timey days of the Futaba Magnum, like, the history is filled with more radios up here than it is radios down here. And remember, not included. Either because I haven't used it or because there's why? Like, if you want to, absolutely. There's a gentleman that is a frequenter, a member of the channel and a frequenter of the Crawl Your Canyon Discord that espouses an affection for a particular line of products. And I keep telling him, if you want to buy that thing, then wants over needs always. Buy that thing. If you want an M17 or you want a 10PX, if you want an anniversary 10PX and it doesn't keep food off your table, don't let anyone tell you that you can't have it, because life is short, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to bring you down. Time is finite and life is too short. If you want to buy the shiny thing, buy the shiny thing. I'm just saying that you're not going to use 8% of the functionality of it. And for the cost of that 10PX, you could buy, well, you could almost buy all three of those. No, you can. You can buy an RC8, a Noble, and a RadioMaster for the cost of a 10PX. Or you could buy 10 RC4s. Let's do 7 RC4s and 3 RC6s. And then get to building. Just start building up rigs to fill out those radios. I know that there will be dissenting opinions, and that is fine. Because, listen to my phrasing and listen to the wording there. Dissenting opinions. What I have presented you is an opinion empirically driven. I use a radio, I determine a feel about it. If that radio has a position in the fleet that is an indicator that that radio is better than bad, it is at the very least good. And if we get way up here at the top, they're probably great. These are the true greats. And I think that of tier lists, I think this is the least that we've gotten into S tier. Basically 3 radios in S tier, and I wouldn't change it. Oh, listen to that. It's 91 degrees outside. It's 91 degrees outside. Southern California is becoming Florida. I hope wherever you are, I hope the weather is treating you kinder than it is treating me today. Thank you so much for joining us here in the canyon. As always, any questions, comments, or concerns are absolutely welcome in the comment section below. Come on back and to see us as soon as you can. And in between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. If you are within walking distance of a G4P, do yourself a favor. Throw it in a ravine. Buy yourself an RC4 and be like, oh my. Oh my.